If you're back for day 4, I suspect you're starting to notice things you hadn't before. I hope yesterday turned a few of those dead minutes into something a bit more interesting, and that the kettle has never been so entertaining. Today, I want to tell you about my kitchen, or rather, the way I used to move around it. Before I struggled with chronic pain, before I became fascinated by how we move through everyday life, if you'd filmed me making a cup of tea over and over, you'd have seen me walk exactly the same route every time. Kettle, cupboard, fridge, back to the kettle. I'd probably been doing it for years without ever deciding to. It wasn't a choice, it was just my route. The same was true of the stairs. Same foot leading, same hand on the banister, same pace, facing the same way. The same was true of the walk to the shops. Of course, I took the most direct route. I couldn't tell you when I decided that, because I never did. I just did it. We all have these invisible paths. The route around the supermarket, the direction you walk the dog, the chair we sit on in the lounge, the way we get to work, and more. And unlike yesterday's waiting moments, these are often almost impossible to notice because your body is doing them while your mind is somewhere else entirely, and often you are moving but in the same ways. That's the bit I find fascinating. These aren't decisions you've forgotten, they're decisions you never really made. The path emerged and then it just kept being the path. It's a bit like your internal Sat-Nav has forgotten there are any other routes. Initially, it learns the quickest, easiest route, and then keeps sending you the same way, over and over again, without ever asking if you'd like to try another one. And just like a well-trodden path, every time you use it, it becomes a little more familiar and a little harder to notice. So today's experiment is simply to spot your invisible paths. In your home, on your way to work, around the supermarket, walking the dog, all the things I've suggested, and many more, your versions, wherever your day takes you. Which way do you go naturally? Which footsteps first when you go up on a curb? Where do you always sit? And in what way? How much of your day is happening on autopilot? And then, if you'd like to play with it, that's where things get a bit more fun. Think about how you can get your sat-nav to reroute again. You could walk the dog the opposite way around. Go around the supermarket in reverse, which I promise is more disorientating than it has any right to be. Lead with the other foot all day on the stairs, or even go up sideways. Sit on the floor instead of the sofa, or simply take one different street on a journey that you know by heart and notice what you've stopped seeing. Because changing the route often changes far more than just the route. And if you do decide to reroute, don't be surprised if a little voice pops up saying, no, this isn't right. That's your internal sat-nav trying to send you back onto the familiar route. And as we've already discovered this week, that's information too. So today's experiment is seeing if you can get your sat-nav to reroute. As you go through today, I'd love you to notice 3 things. How many invisible paths did you spot? Which one surprised you the most? And if you rerouted just one of them, what did you notice that you'd stopped seeing? Tomorrow, I want you to think about the highest and lowest points of your day, but not emotionally, physically. Again, you might be surprised by what you find. I'll see you tomorrow.